Hi, Shalom, everyone. I'm going to continue a series of the great rabbis of yesteryear. Now, I believe happened to be around the 18th of Adar. I think he passed away 18th of Adar. Aleph. Rabbi Pinchas Di Shigura. It would mark his Hilula over here today. He was a great rabbi from Izmir of his time. He was nicknamed Mechuna Pardes or Hapardesh. Let's just say in its own right. I believe he passed away in the 1851. So it's chronicled over. He passed away on the 18th of Adar, and I think it was on leap year itself. He was a Jewish court, a Rosh Yeshiva, a Kabbalist, a Posek in Izmir, and was the author of the Ot Hi Le'olam. So I thought we will explore a few of the highlights. We're about to be in the Jewish day of Shabbat over here at the moment, here at the time of recording. So we're just going to explore a few of the highlights within regards to him. And remember, we've spoken about in this series already approximately as many as I would say approximately at least 120 rabbis that actually came from Turkey, if not even more. So remember, Turkey in of its day was a bastion place of Torah learning, one of the centers across the world in its time period, along with Italy and Greece. And Rabbi Di Shigura is a rabbi I believe we've spoken about here already on various occasions here inside this series. That's something that I would very much have to point out over here. So 1851 he passed away. That means we're talking already about a good 175 years ago approximately would have been his passing over here. So that's a very, very long time ago, but may we remember him and in a huge way. Okay, so he was born, I think his father's name was Rav Shmuel, beno shel Rabbi Yitzchak Di Shigura, who apparently was a great rabbi, and mechabe hatkun lelag ba'omer. Wow, this is astounding. Lamad etzel Rav Chanan el-Chabif, who was Rav Chanan el-Chabif. He was a great Rosh Yeshiva and a darshan of Izmir during the 18th century, and the author of the Migdal, another rabbi we've spoken about here on various occasions before. Now, Shigam Sidelo Drashal Omar, but Tashlum Shanat Ptirat Aviv, Lamad im Talmido Chavero, Harav Chaim Pelagi, Lema'ala Me'esrim Shana. So he was learning with the caliber of Rav Chaim Pelagi, arguably one of the most famous Turkish rabbis in Jewish history, without a doubt. And I'd recommend everyone to watch over that video we recorded with regards to Rav Pelagi. It was I think it could be that we recorded as many as 2 videos with regards to his history of its own right, which is outstanding. And we also did, friends, record a video on the history of Turkish Jewry, if you recollect. And that's something that I would recommend everyone to do some chazara on and look back on. And, also, once again, I have to point out all these videos we're recording, putting a lot of effort inside Torah content. So please also share to other people also and, publicize and so on and so forth. Okay, let's continue speaking about him. So he would learn around the caliber of Rav Chaim Pelagi. Kihen karav shel Kilat Kodesh Shalom be'Izmir. Very interesting enough, he'll be a rabbi of Kila. B'meshech yotem 40 shana, for 40 years. V'chen kihen k'rosh Yeshiva. He would also become a Rosh Yeshiva, head of Talmudic Torah Academy there. Haya morgal loma tamid b'kol ha'inyanim sheba'olam ein od milvado. Hu mesagef atzmo b'taniyot. He would actually take on fast for himself. B'tziva she'amru alav b'ashkava she'aya meruba b'yisurim. Kol yamav harbit Torah. Would do huge amounts of kiruv outreach work, musa, teaching ethical teachings. Veidu alav she'afilu beit merchatz hayu mitkarvim elu lishmoa mepiv divrei tochacha. This is just reading from Wikipedia over here. Vayinu yotziyan melefanav belev nishba v'nidka mishmoa nosam mosro. And very, very interesting. Rav Chaim Pelagi would also speak about him at the highest levels in of itself. So that's something that we have to point out. There's a quotation actually I'm looking at over here on Wikipedia, and we're going to take a short break. Yeah. So who was Rav Chaim Pelagi? He was a famous rabbi. There's different ways of pronouncing his last name. First of all, before I expound on him, please subscribe to the channel now, as we've got phenomenal content over here in this channel. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button now, wherever you're watching this from. We're just recording this just before Shabbat. Okay, so his Hilula was on the 17th of Shvat of Rav Chaim Pelagi. We recorded a video about him. He was a Posek, a Parshan, a Kabbalist, and one of the great rabbis of Izmir, if I'm not mistaken. I think his grandfather from his mother's side was Rabbi Yosef Rafa'el ben Chaim Chazan, who was also known as author of the Hikrei Lev, if I'm not mistaken, who was a famous rabbi of his time. And he was learning along with Rabbi Pinchas Di Shigura, who we're speaking about here today. And I think he was a Rosh Yeshiva Bet Yaakov Rabbi, if I'm not mistaken. He was a Dayan, he was a judge in a famous Bet Din of his time. He was a head of Jewish court over there. And I think he would take on various positions. He was a Chacham Bashi in his place in of itself. And he lived between, I think, the years 1787 to 1868, if I'm not mistaken. He was nicknamed the Hachabiv, and he was a famous posek of his time. And among his rabbis included Rabbi Rafal, Pinchas Raphael Yehusha Di Shigura, Rabbi Rafal Yosef Chazan, and the famous Rabbi Yitzchak Maya was Rav Pelagi's rabbi over there. He was a famous posek halacha, Sofer Turani, and the rabbi of Kihila over there. And he would have great children, including Rav Avram Pelagi, Rav Rachamim Nisim Pelagi, and Rav Yosef Pelagi over there, and was author of many, many great books in of itself, something that we have to point out over here. Friends, we are talking over here about Rabbi Pinchas, Raphael Yehusha Di Shigura over here. We're going to take a short break over here, and we're going to come back in 1 minute. So in the meantime, please subscribe. We'll be back in 1 minute, friends. Over here. Hi, shalom everyone. Thanks for being patient over here as we're exploring a few of the highlights of famous Rabbi Di Shigura's life over here as it marks his Hilula here on the 18th of Adar. Friends, okay. Matalmidav haya Rabbi Daniel HaKohen Nahar. So one of his Talmudim was a famous Rabbi Daniel HaKohen Nahar, who was a rabbi in Izmir in his time and also in Sfat, we have to talk about during the 19th century, was the author of the Yad HaNahar. Let's just speak about him for a minute. When we recorded the video, I think of if I recollect, on the history of Turkish Jewry, I believe we did mention him. That's something that we very much have to point out over here. Who was Rav Daniel? He lived between 1804 to 1881. He was a rabbi also, I believe, in Izmir. In his day, he was Sef of the Yad HaNahar, and he came from great auspices. Rabbi Yehosha Avram HaKohen was, I think, his father, if I'm not mistaken. And he left great descendants also, including Rav Moshe HaKohen Nahar, if I'm not mistaken, Rav David Rachamim, Rabbi Avram, Rabbi Yehuda, and was also of various different great works in of its own right, and he was a star Talmud of Rabbi Pinchas Raphael Yehusha Di Shigura. He also was a Talmud of Rab Rachamim Aryeh Avram Aryash, another great rabbi that we have to point out over here. So very, very interesting. Okay, let's keep speaking about Rabbi Pinchas over here. And it's reported over, he passed away, I think, on the 18th of Adar Aleph, on that specific year, if I'm not mistaken, and he was buried in Har Zaitim, it's reported over. I think among the great rabbis that would give him a hesped include the famous Rabbi Chaim Pelagi, Rabbi Nisim Chaim Moshe Modai, Rabbi Nisim Yitzchak Al-Garanti, another rabbi we've spoken about, who was Rabbi Al-Garanti. He was a rabbi at Darshan in Izmir, and Talmido Havatikim Shel Rab Chaim Pelagi. Interesting enough, another rabbi that would eulogize him was the famous Rabbi Yehosha Avram Crispin, who was another famous rabbi who we actually did record a video about also. I think he passed away in 1855. He was Chacham Bashi in Izmir, Posek, a Dayan, and left. He actually, Rav Crispin, left many great descendants, including Rav Avram Crispin, Rav Yom Tov Crispin, also Rav Yitzchak Crispin, Rav Shmuel Crispin, and many of, I think some of his daughters got married to famous rabbis, including one of the daughters, Leah, would get married to Rabbi Chaim Ben Yamin Ponchimoli, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe we should actually record a video on the history of the Crispin family. I think that would definitely be very much appropriate over here. And Rabbi Yeshua Avram Crispin, I think, will become the rabbi of Rhodos, or maybe it was Rabbi Michael Yaakov Yisrael who would actually come from him, if I'm not mistaken. He was Rabbi Yisrael was a rabbi of Rhodos, who was a great rabbi, and he lived between 1790 to 1856, if I'm not mistaken, and definitely a rabbi that we've spoken about here on various occasions over here in this series beforehand. And remember, Greece, as I said before, Rhodos, it was a Torah center across the world at that stage in time. And Rabbi Michael Yaakov Yisrael we did speak about. And if I'm not mistaken, he was author of the Shanut Yamin, the Yad Yamin, and he was a father also of Rabbi Rachamim Chaim Yehuda Yisrael, who was also the rabbi of the city of Rhodos in that point in time. And he himself happened to be a head of Jewish court And I think he was part of the Bet Din of the famous Rabbi Avram Ashkenazi and Rabbi Aaron Azriel and Rabbi Moshe Pardo. Three very famous rabbis of their time. That's something that we have to point out. Okay, let's speak a bit more within regards to him. Who was the descendants of Rabbi Di Shigura? Banav hem Harav Rachamim Nisim Yehuda Di Shigura. So his son was Rabbi Rachamim Nisim Yehuda Di Shigura, very famous rabbi. I think we recorded a video within regards to him. Mechaber Asfrim Ekev Anava Umagid Barav. הרב יסאל שמואל, הרב משה שנפטר בחייו של אביו בשנת תר"ה, very sadly, ועבר רוסה שנישאה לגביר יעקב בן גיאת. Interesting enough. So, who was Rachamim Nisim Yehuda Di Shigura? He lived between 1808 to 1880, and there was another great rabbi from Izmir in his point of time, if I'm not mistaken. And he was, I think, a Dayan, if I'm not mistaken, the author of the Ekev Anava, Magid Barav Al Ba'od, and he was the father of Rav Moshe and Rav Yitzchak Shmuel, if I'm not mistaken. And very, very interesting, and had also great descendants, and was author of more works, including Ot L'Rachamim, Tfilah Loni, Sefer Kritut, Tzion B'Rachamim, and various other important works of their Rav Rachamim. Let's just conclude over here. The works of Rabbi Pinchas Di Shigura over here include the Ot Hi Le'olam, which was divided into two chalakim, which was a very pilpulim al Sigyot Menos'im, I think featured in the Talmudic Encyclopedia, if I'm not mistaken, alphabet order. The Ot Yeshua, which is Drushim al Pinosim through the different subjects. Ot Habrit, which is Perish on the book of Tehillim. Then the Ot Emet, which is Drushim on the book of the Parshiot in of itself. And the Ot Lotava al Sedet Tfilot in itself. And there was very similar to Shubot that was connected to the Chakikei Leb Lachabif, Rav Chaim Pelagi, if I'm not mistaken, over there also. So very, very interesting. We're going to explore a couple of the highlights from his book in a minute. We're just going to take another very short break. We'll be back just in 1 minute, friends, over here. So just watch this space. We'll come back in 1 minute. Right, it's going to be Shabbat. Okay, shalom, friends, everyone. We're about to come inside Shabbat over here at the moment. So we're speaking about the famous rabbi of his time, Rabbi Pinchas Rafa'el Yehusha Di Shigura over here. Just wanted to share over just a couple of highlights from the book. One of the teachings he says, the Sefer, which is a drush for Shabbat, Tshuva, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was actually printed through Aaron Yeshua Di Shigura, if I'm not mistaken, in the year 1876. Says over it's one of the teachings. Another one of his teachings, he says over this is another interesting let's just say teaching he gives over. I think there was a drush also for Shabbat Halbasha that happens to be printed in Izmir, and another teaching Shabbat Halbasha עניים כדי תלמד במעשה צדקה, the importance within regards to that. That was from the Sefer Ot Yeshua, which we spoke about before, Drush Aleph, if I'm not mistaken, and that was in 1876, if I'm not mistaken. And another teaching, Melamed Ta'am Shemaski Zchut Avot, Maski Mahem Zchut Haaretz. The importance of not just the Zchut Avot in of its own right, the merits of the fathers, but also within regards to how important actually this happens to be, the other way around. Also, that's something very much we have to point out. So very, very interesting over here. And happens to be, we're coming into Shabbat. Just give me a second over here, friends. I'm just going to wish someone a Shabbat Shalom, and I'm going to conclude this presentation over here. Shabbat Shalom. Yeah, over here, just wishing someone a Shabbat Shalom message over here. And yeah, that's some of the highlights from his book over here. So I would recommend everyone to look into it more and learn more within regards to the great rabbi. He really was a great rabbi of Yeshia, let's just say, in of its own right. So very, very important to actually bring that about, friends, over here. And friends, we're a community over here. We love learning about great rabbis of Yeshia. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Now we are nearing, at the moment, a staggering 9,000 subscribers, which is phenomenal. And I don't think we would have, let's just say, I wouldn't have anticipated, long time ago, that we would actually go really, really from this specific level in of itself. So that's something very, very interesting and something that we should be very, very proud about over here, friends, over here. And we're doing much more here on this series here in this community. That's something that we have to point out over here. And we hopefully will get to Bezrat Hashem. The goal is to get to as many as 9,000 subscribers, hopefully even 10,000 subscribers. Come what? Hopefully by the time period of Pesach. So that's I think definitely a good aim to have over here. And I think on this note, wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom and Barach, and wishing you well and blessings here from Israel, and so on and so forth. And let's keep going from strength to strength over here. And so much excellent feedback we have to point out over here from various different places. We're about to go into Shabbat Parshat Ki Tisa over here. It's talking all about the Machatzit HaShekel we have to point out over here, which is very interesting. And we just thanks everyone else for the excellent feedback, at the moment. So much good feedback over here. And don't forget to go to the Stories of the Tzaddikim section of the Righteous over here on our channel, where it features let's just say many great stories of great rabbis of Yeshia. And you can actually, for friends, if you descend from any of the great rabbis over here that we happen to be speaking about today, please send me an email. I would love to hear more information on the great Chachamim that if you could share us with, that would be really, really appreciated over here. As we did feature all of this information at the time period of the history of the Rabbonim of Turkey. And remember, Turkey, as I stated before, along with Italy and along with Greece, those were the famous places at that point in time of, just, let's say, Torah flourishing and, so on and so forth. And, something very much up to... We're going to have Bezrat Hashem. We're in the middle of a war at the moment, so everyone pray for safety in Israel. I can't urge that enough at the moment. And just blessings for all of Am Yisrael. And, we hope there'll be a safe situation. Obviously, we're in the time period of conflict, but obviously we don't want conflict. But we hope and pray for good days coming here at the moment, Bezrat Hashem, and the rebuilding of the third Bet HaMikdash coming up. Now we want Mashiach now, as Chabad love to say over here. So wishing you well once again, and please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. So thanks for watching and take care. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks very much, everyone. Just going to switch it.